Hello everybody, my name is Zul and welcome to my Performance Mods for Oblivion series. In this series we're basically looking at performance mods for Oblivion. Even if you have a nice rig, an old rig, anything like that, these mods will be useful for you because the game isn't that well optimized and every little bit of performance helps to keep you at a nice, smooth 60 FPS and reducing crashes. If you're gonna mod your game, you should be using these mods in order to help you offset some of the problems. In part 1 we looked at some stuff that just changed the grass, which is actually a big performance impactor. And today we have a different thing in mind. So today's mods are Streamline and the Oblivion Stutter Remover. The aim of today's episode is to reduce stuttering a bit further than the changes in grass. We want to increase stability by disabling autosave. We want to get the ability to purge our memory much easier, which will help with stability. It'll stop the stuttering and lagging, especially in some cases if you lag opening an inventory screen or opening the menu. This will help you there. It will just in general help reduce crashes if you are crashing a whole bunch. This episode will actually help you a lot, and it's going to stabilize your FPS. This is kind of an optional thing. I personally don't use these tweaks because I use recording software most of the time when I'm playing, but it can help you stabilize your FPS by getting a target range, which is pretty cool. I'm going to be covering how to customize these mods as well in this video, so stay tuned. But before we do that, we need to talk about a couple of things. I've been talking about stuttering and all that kind of stuff, but do you really know what stuttering is? Well, maybe you do, but you know, not everybody does, and I'm here to explain. So let's get into the topic of what a stutter is. Now, one of the big engine problems with a lot of the Bethesda games is the stuttering. The game is loaded in cells, and that's a certain area around the player character where things are calculated, and when you enter into a new cell or new area, you have to load textures and all this other advanced stuff. You don't really need to worry about that. But when you enter from one cell into another one and force a bunch of areas to load, you will get a stutter. You might be able to see it in these clips here. It's a brief drop in performance. I'd recommend using something like DxTory or Fraps while you're playing. Look at the frame rate. As you're walking around, you'll notice that sometimes you drop some frames, you go low just for a second, the game sort of lags. That's a stutter. It's basically a little laggy area as you're walking around, and it is very, very distracting. I personally find this hugely immersion breaking and it totally rips me out of the game. And in order to fix this, we're going to be using some mods to remove the stutters. So let's talk about that now. So first off, we're going to be talking about the Oblivion Stutter Remover. This mod is going to, well, it's going to do its best to remove stutters. It is an OBS-B plugin, so make sure you have that done. If you don't, you can check out my Introduction to Oblivion video, where I cover all the basic tools. And we're basically going to go ahead and download this. It's just going to smooth out the game, and that's pretty much it. You don't really need to know how it works. If you're concerned, there's a bunch of info on the mod page, so I recommend reading through that if you're curious. There's mods like this for Fallout, things like that, so don't worry, it's totally safe. Head along to the file section and go ahead and download the main file. I am currently using the latest version right here, OSR 4-1-37. If you're having problems, there are a couple of other main versions. These are all up to date, especially these last two here, which are updated as of 2014. So that's pretty important. I'm using the latest version, of course, but you know, whatever you'd like. Go ahead and download that manually. I have it here on my desktop and I've extracted it. It's an OBS-C plugin, so you can either create an OMod file structure using the Oblivion Mod Manager, or you can just go in and you can put it in your plugins folder for OBS-C, and this is actually how I'm going to recommend you do this. Normally, I recommend you use a mod manager for everything, but in this case, I have some problems getting things to go into the plugins area when I'm doing an OBS-C plugin, and it's a bit easier if you just manually place it in here. So we go into Steam Apps Common, Oblivion, Data, OBS-C, Plugins. We copy these and we drag and drop them into the folder. That's all you really need to do. The mod is now installed. You don't have to worry about accidentally uninstalling the mod manager, anything like that. Now there's a little bit of customization we can do, but I'm gonna get back to that. So we will deal with it, but first we're gonna talk about our second mod. The second mod is called Streamline. Now this was originally a purge memory mod, but it has evolved to so much more. Now, it shouldn't be used in its full extent because parts of it are obsolete based on the stutter remover. I said that a little weird, but basically there's sort of the same kind of utility in here, but it works less good. But what we're going to use in this is stream save and stream purge, which are going to auto save for us because the auto save feature in Oblivion is notoriously buggy and can cause crashes in some cases, especially with a modded game. And we are going to use the purge option in order to purge our memory to reduce lag when activating menus and other such things, especially if you're using heavy script mods, stuff like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to head over to the files section. Now there's different versions of this mod. It hasn't been updated since 2008, so you can choose whichever one applies to you. I'm actually going to be using the 3.0 version. I downloaded it. It's a self-extracting archive, version 3.0 beta. It'll be an exe, but don't worry, it'll just extract itself from an archive, so you won't need to use WinRAR or something like that. If you open it up, you will see a couple of things. There's a README, and I would recommend going through this because it does have some good information, and there's an ESP and a folder. Inside the folder is a bit of knowledge information kind of thing, another sort of readme. This will sort of tell you the different things about the mod, for example, stream purge and what it does. So basically it's going to reduce the lag of the game. There's stream smooth, which we are not going to be using here. This levels out and smooths your FPS. I personally don't recommend it, although some people do have better luck with it. The thing that we're really going to be using here is stream save, because this is our autosave plugin. And then there's stream view, which I'm not really that familiar with. I don't normally use it. It does change your FOV a little bit, allowing things to be a bit more dynamic, especially with screenshots. I don't really use it at all, so I'm not going to recommend it. This mod can be installed manually as well, but you are going to need to activate it with the mod manager. So whatever way you'd like, you need to have your ESP in the data folder, and you're going to just move the rest of the mod into the data folder as well. So once again, to reiterate, you're going to need to take all of the folders here, everything that you extract, and just put it into your data folder. Okay, now let's talk about the Oblivion Stutter Remover .ini. Now, if you come in here, you'll see that there's the DLL and there's the .ini. The .ini can be edited with either Notepad or Notepad++. I prefer Notepad++, it's just a little bit more organized, and this will allow you to customize the mod. So here we can change some of the settings, such as managing the FPS and other such things. Now, I actually turn Manage FPS off. I don't like this to manage my FPS because I actually use my recording software and other things like that to manage my FPS when I play the game. But if you would like to manage the FPS, leave that as 1 and then come down to this area and you can change it. For example, there's a maximum and a minimum FPS that you're going to try and achieve, and there's a couple of different things about that. Most everything else I leave as is, although if you want to get a little bit more advanced, go ahead and mess around with it. I just recommend backing it up and not trusting it to be very stable. Now, if we go back to our data folder, we will have the streamline area, and if we go to the ini files, there's an ini file here too, which we're going to edit once again with Notepad++. Now this one has a lot of different options. If we look here, we can see there's a purging, smoothing, and saving. We're going to turn smoothing off. I don't like FPS smoothing, just as I showed you before, but I do like the other two options. Now, let's take a look at those other two options here first. By the way, if you do keep FPS on, you have to realize that it tries to max you out at 30 at the beginning, which is an uncomfortable resolution for many people, especially for a PC game. I mean, come on. Anyway, if we go to the autosave configuration, we see here that there's different options, and you can set these to whatever you'd like. If you would like to, for example, save after zoning into an area, save after waiting, allow sneaking saves, all these kind of things. You can set this up to exactly how you want it. There's also different slots and time. So every 10 minutes it will save into 6 slots, which means you can load back a bit farther. It's a bit more powerful than the regular autosave. And it also has different options for health threshold, for example. You don't want a bunch of autosaves while you have a sliver of health in combat, because you'll load them and die. So that's another thing to keep in mind. There's a few more other settings here, but we're again not going to really look at them. This is mostly for you to be on your own time doing a bit of research, because I need to keep this video fairly short. Now, we want to disable autosave in the game itself, which means you have to go to the Oblivion ini itself to disable autosave. Of course, we're going to hit yes to save our changes to the ini files after exiting. Alright, so let's quickly go over how to disable autosave in the game. If you head over to your Oblivion folder, this is Steam Apps Common Oblivion, look for the oblivion_default.ini. Basically, you want to find your Oblivion ini, whatever it is. Right click on that and open it up with either Notepad or Notepad++, then click Ctrl F. Once here, type in vsave and find next. You'll come to an area called Gameplay. Then, simply turn off Save on Travel, Save on Wait, and Save on Rest. You basically want to turn off all of the autosave options. There's also a couple of other things. I think there's the ability to save on interior-exterior switch, which might be found in a different area. The second area we're going to look at is the Oblivion folder itself in your documents. This is C, users, name, documents, my games, Oblivion. In here we have the oblivion.ini. We're going to edit that with Notepad++, Control F. I'm going to look up the word save, find next. We don't want to change the save local path. We want to find vsave. And we will see that once again there's options here. So we're going to go ahead and set these once again to 0. You want to turn all the save options off. So be safe. That's what you want to find. Save on travel, save on rest, and finally, I guess at the bottom is save on interior-exterior switch. Set these to 0 in both your inis, save, and you should be good to go. After that, you're going to need to load up your game and test to see if the slipstream is working. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and then I'm going to report back to you. Okay, so thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. Please consider subscribing to my channel. It would mean a lot. And you know what else would mean a lot? If you would leave a comment. It would really help me out. I love reading comments. It's one of my favorite things to do because I am crazy. So yes, please do that. Also, a couple of things I'm going to point you towards. I have a Zool report that came out, sort of like a channel update where I update everybody on what's going on with me and my channel. And if you're a new subscriber or an old subscriber, please check it out because I am reading the comments on there and taking them very seriously as some intense feedback. Other thing that I would like to point you towards is my KOTOR LP. It is done and it is pretty good, so go ahead and check that out if you would like, if it's your thing. It's not an ordinary LP, it's sort of a thing of its own. I've had it described to me as a Jack Star LP, and you'll see why right away if you watch it. If it's not your cup of tea, that's fine though, because as long as you're watching my videos. Anyway, that's probably enough for now. Thank you very much for watching. I have been Zool. Have an excellent day.